All right, good morning. It is January 1st, 2022, and I'm still on the Marxism thing. So, I realized that this is not an easy task. My goal here is to convince liberals that a lot of what they believe is indistinguishable from Marxism. I really think this is true. And, it says in the Wikipedia page that I must be a right-wing anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist for believing this. It's a conspiracy theory. That's what they say. I've put up I don't know how many hours of content, but part of the reason that I've been putting up all this content and describing my beliefs about all these subjects is so that if you don't believe me, if you think that I'm a crazy person, if you think I'm a ridiculous conspiracy theorist, go through, I know you don't have to do this, but I'm saying that if you want to realize what I'm thinking about, if you want to understand where I'm coming from, I've tried to speak about every possible issue that I could speak about. And if you can find some sort of remarkable inconsistency, if you can figure out where I'm being unreasonable, if you think I'm an idiot, if you think that I'm evil, if you could find a place where you can see that, that'd be great. But as far as I can tell, I'm a liberal guy who just sees a thing that other people don't see. And I've been having this conversation for more than a year and a half now with a lot of people, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. That's where it got really scary to me. Before the pandemic, I didn't really care. It didn't really matter. I knew that there was these people that believed this stuff, but you have to ask yourself, what is wokeness? When we say woke, what does that mean? When we're talking about people that are canceling, what does that mean? Why is there this thing where there's a connection between people who support trans rights, that support LGBT, that support systemic racism, that support patriarchy, and you know what I mean, that believe in these things? Why is there this pattern? Why do these people seem to love mask mandates? Why do these people seem to love vaccine mandates? Why do they seem to love taking people's speech away? What is that about? Isn't that strange? Why? When you look at people that have canceled in the past, when you look at the people that want to stop others from talking, who are they? Who are the people that want to stop other people from talking? If you look at Vanessa Voki's channel, there's a reason I'm focused on the TERFs. There's a real reason here. Specifically Voki and her followers. I've been in those chat rooms listening to what they're saying. They are liberals who are almost see what I see. That's how I see it. They're like one increment away from my thought process. That's how I see this. Because they've been arguing with these people. They've been arguing with the Marxists. The problem is that they're feminists. And feminists also tend to be Marxists. So, how do you convince a feminist that she's a Marxist? Probably going to title the video exactly that. How do you convince a feminist that she's a Marxist? What is the patriarchy? Think about what Marxism is. I have to go around in circles on this kind of stuff, but I just woke up 15 minutes ago, so this is not planned. None of this is planned. Part of the reason I'm sitting here and drinking coffee this time is because I realize that I come into these things way too serious. I need to be more casual. I think I'm too intense, taking this too seriously. But all of the videos from the very beginning of this channel for 4 months now, I have believed the same exact thing for all of the videos. So if you find the spot anywhere in my videos where I said the thing or did the thing that was wrong, that points out where I'm wrong, please tell me. And like Yubu said, this is not just about social constructionism. It's not. These are not simply social constructionists. That's not the problem here. The problem is people are trying to take away your power to speak. Anybody who's trying to take away your power to speak is the bad guy. Look at Voki's channel. Look at the TERFs. Are the TERFs evil? Do you think TERFs are evil? Are radical feminists evil? Trans exclusionary radical feminists, are they evil? What did Voki do that was evil? Where did she commit evil? And yet her speech was taken away. By who? Google? or by a subset of people within Google, or by a subset of people who control the people that control the levers of Google. Like, who are these people? What is that which cancels? That's really what I'm focused on. What is canceling? Who are these people that demand that other people don't talk? What is that? What drives that? What is causing that? It's Marxism. That's what's causing that. That's what wokeness is. When we say woke, that's what it is. That's what it is. If you're a liberal, you got to separate yourself from this. You really do. And that doesn't mean you can, that doesn't mean you have to stop thinking about feminism and racism and LGBT. It doesn't mean stop thinking about those things. It just means that those things have been very tangled up. Very tangled up. Every time that there's Marxism is a perspective. It's like a pair of glasses. That's how you have to think about it. It's a way of understanding the world as it is currently by understanding how history was, right? Every time you try to understand how the world is right now, you have to think about, okay, what was history? Like, if I'm looking at me, my body right now, I'm like, okay, look at the screen. There's a truck right there. That truck didn't just appear there, right? There's a history. That truck arrived there somehow. So my understanding of the world has to include, how did the truck get here, right? So when we look at the world today and we go, oh, look at all these white guys with a bunch of money. Now we have to invent some stories. How did these white guys get all this money, right? And then you start to get a Marxist interpretation of this. You start to get this thing where it's like, okay, there was a system of whiteness, a system of men who have set up a system that maintains a status quo, that oppresses everybody else. And in order to fix this, we have to radically alter the system. And so this is the same exact rhetoric that the Marxists were using to take over Russia whenever the Marxist revolution happened in Russia or in China or any of this stuff. It's rich people with money, and now it's white people with money, or it's men with money, or it's and then this comes out in LGBT as well, because it's very much about, like, you have to think about what they talk about with this when you get really deep into what they're talking about, they talk about language quite a bit, and they talk about how the language maintains the system. It's a weird form. It's a weird form of this, right? That's why it's called cultural Marxism, I think. It's not traditional. It's not about capitalism anymore. I don't think Marxism requires that it's about capitalism at all. I think it's a broader thing. And if I'm going to be even wackier here, I don't think Marx was the first person to think of Marxism. I think Marxism really is a label for a social pathology that just takes over society. There's various social pathologies that have been constantly rising within civilizations and destroying them from the inside. There's snakes outside of the castle and there's snakes inside the castle, and this is one of those snakes. And I think Marx just invented a new one, or just labeled one that always existed. Like, there's probably people doing the same exact stuff in ancient Rome. Rome collapsed. Every civilization that's ever existed has collapsed eventually, partially due to internal causes. So clearly our society worked for some amount of time, right? I know that people want to say that it's always been this, like, horrible dictatorship, but, like, really, a lot of the things we have, and this is something, I'm going to get in trouble for saying, but we should be slightly grateful for the world we live in right now. Like, it is relatively non-violent. It is we have relative material abundance compared to most other places in history. So something was right? Like, something was done right. I don't know what it was. We can argue about what it was, but something was done right. To look at it as if it was all evil is wrong, right? So some of it is right. So I think the red team has been consumed by Trump. I don't know what it is on the red team. I can't, like, the red team is just, they seem to just be anti-blue at this point, right? So when I talk to red teamers about this, they're quick to be like, yes, the whole blue team is Marxist, right? They think, like, everything Marxist. It's all Marxist. It's all authoritarian. It's all, like, for them it's easy to believe this. But, like, I feel like what I'm talking to is the people on the blue team that I can extract from this ideology. So, and they're, I'm not a crazy guy. How would I know if I was? I've freely admitted that I believe in a thing that Wikipedia says is a far-right conspiracy theory. I freely admit that I believe this thing. And, I don't think the number of Marxists in academia is infinitesimally small, like Yubu says. I don't think it's it's not microscopic. There's a lot of them. Some studies, I mean, you can try and go look up how many there are, but it's a significant proportion identifies Marxist. And I don't even think active identification as Marxist is required. If you look at the Russian Revolution, I don't think most of them identified as Marxist either. I think it's usually a very, very tiny percentage of people that will literally say they're Marxists. And then there's a bigger percentage that will behave as if they're Marxists. And then there's an even larger percentage outside of that that go along with it, because it's like these Marxists wield power. Think about what they do with BLM. Look at what BLM did during the George Floyd riots. This is what freaked me out. They had white people kneeling. There's videos of this. I mean, go look it up. It's not just white people, but they had people kneeling before this. You had to kneel and you had to put your fist in the air, right? That's not for fun. This is an ideology demanding your loyalty, demanding fealty to it, right? And I know I sound like it's like I'm not exaggerating this, right? I'm not. This is what literally happened. These people would go around during these protests. If you did not kneel, they'd beat the fuck out of you, right? They forced everybody to kneel. Or if they didn't beat you up, they would record you and put you on the internet and call you racist. Like, they did whatever they could do to make you kneel. They did. That's what they constantly do. That's what they do with all these things. For me, as a white guy, the only way out of the argument is to kneel, right? They're going to tell me I'm part of an oppressive class, and I can sit there and argue with them all day. I will never beat them in an argument. You guys have tried. You've argued with TRAs. There's no way to beat these people in an argument. The only way to beat them is to accept what they're saying and kneel. That's the only way out. I think that's how this works. It's a social pathology. It's a social pathology that is taking power. That's exactly what's going on here. It's exactly what's going on here. It's a social pathology taking power. It's consuming the blue team. And a lot of blue team members can't really tell the differences between Marxism and not Marxism. A lot of people have actively believed Marxist concepts for years now, for many years. You're taught it in college for sure, and you hear it from your friends. It spreads. These ideas spread, and you have no idea that they're Marxist ideas because they sound right. They sound progressive. Of course, we want to end racism. Of course, we want to, people should have sexual freedom and all that stuff. Like, I agree with all the things. I'm a liberal guy. So I keep saying that. My political beliefs are not conservative at all. If I was president, I would do some pretty radical things with this country. Mostly to do with the mechanics of the system, but I think if I was president, I would help black people. If Yang was president, it would have been so helpful to black people and women and gay people. He would have been helpful to all these people, right? But that's not really what they care about. They don't literally care about helping these groups. They care about using these groups to gain power. That's what it's about. Do you think BLM is helping black people? Do you think Me Too helped women? Do you think that the trans rights activists are actually helping these people that suffer from sexist dysphoria? No. No, none of these groups are actually helping the groups they say they're advocating for. They're wielding these groups as political tools to gain power, as a Marxist would do, as Marxism has done in the past. Marxism has successfully overthrown governments in the past, and now we're sitting here today being like, that's never going to happen here, right? It's very old. According to some people, this has been going on since the 20s. You can go look up other YouTubers who might talk about this kind of stuff. There's only one person that I would recommend that really has done a deep dive on this, and his name is James Lindsay. He's the one that did that grievance studies affair hoax where they released fake papers into the academics, and him and a couple other people released 20 papers that were completely bullshit. Academic papers that got accepted into academic journals where they just made up woke bullshit, right? There's a whole world of academics that are completely, all of their papers, like if you go to the Wikipedia page on cultural Marxism, it points to some of these papers. These peer-reviewed things, this is bullshit, right? At this point, we must realize these institutions are not trustworthy, right? We have to realize this. Some scientists are doing a great job. Some scientists make iPhones and cars and quantum mechanics and stuff. Some people are really doing real things. Some sociologists are doing real things. Sociology is a real thing. I've taken sociology classes and studied real sociology, right? There's fake things going on that are really just Marxist, just laundering ideas over and over again. They're just sniffing their own farts, essentially. For years they've been doing this, for decades. And they've slowly been growing in power. It started very tiny a very long time ago. And now, when you look at the George Floyd riots, when you look at what happened during the pandemic, silence is violence, but also if I speak, I'm taking up space that should be left for black people. If it's like speech is violence, also silence is violence. Like we're in this world where like there's like, what is wokeness? What is it? What is identity politics? What is wokeness? What is that which cancels? It's all fucking Marxism. It's what it is. It's Marxism. There's no better word for it. And I don't even think it's exactly Marxism. It's not like literally like they all read the Communist Manifesto, But you guys should read that book. I have it here at my house. The Manifesto. The whole first half of the book is like interpreting how the world is, and then the second, right in the middle, he goes, this is where we overthrow it. And at the end, he says, now here's how you set up a government. Marxism isn't really about setting a thing up. It's really just about getting to the point where you pull it all down. Communism is what they set up. Communism keeps failing. We know this, right? So Marxism is really how do you get to the point where you take it down? And that's what we're in right now. There are people out there who identify as Marxists. There's people who don't know that they identify as Marxists, but they are Marxists. And they're trying to pull the thing down. That was what the George Floyd riots were all about. That's what BLM was all about. Listen to what they were saying in their chants. Like, listen to it. They wanted to tear down the system. They wanted to change everything. They can't work with the system. That's not what they want to do, because that's the system set up by white people, right? That's the system set up by the white men. They can't use that to change things. They need a whole new system. If you look at what they do in a lot of these institutions, they don't go through the usual channels. They set up their own little chapter inside of a company, inside of an academic thing. They'll set up the diversity, equity, and inclusion organization, right, within a company. That's how they get a foothold, and then from there they can start doing their nonsense, right? They never work with the rules. They set up their own rules and then just tear things down, right? It's a social pathology. I think that's a better way of saying it, rather than say Marxism, because I think these things are older than Marx. These things are older than 150 years. Marx wrote his book about capitalism, right? And capitalism is relatively new. I think that other civilizations have fallen to similar social pathologies. I can't prove that, but I mean, look at what happened to Rome. What happened over there? Why are we not in the Roman Empire right now? Why? Society doesn't stay stable forever. We just have to separate ourselves from these people, I think that largely what it will take to overcome wokeness, to overcome cancel culture, is really just people stop giving a fuck about when they get called racist, right? Just start speaking your mind and don't give a fuck. That's why I was so attracted to the TERFs, really, is because they were speaking their minds. They were saying things. When I first started hearing them misgender people, I was like, oh my God, finally. Because I've spent 3 years in LA, like the most recent 3 years of my life in LA, surrounded by people where if you were to misgender somebody, that's like saying the N-word. It's like as bad. It's the same thing. You might as well just castigate yourself from the community if you're going to misgender somebody, right? So for somebody to say it on a video, I was inspired, truly. I was like, holy fuck, finally. Because I'm like most people. I don't care what transgender people do. Of course they can call themselves anything they want. I will call them whatever gender they want if it really makes them happy, really. But I think the problem is that's not really what it's about, is it? It's not really about transgender people. It's not. It's not. We know it's not. Everybody knows it's not. It's Orwellian, practically. Like, what was Orwell writing about? What were these people writing about back when they were writing these books? They were writing about communism and Marxism. That's what they were writing about. If you read 1984, the characters in that book are alive today. It's like almost not even a fiction. I mean, it's a fiction, but the characters that he wrote are alive right now. I've met them. I was reading the book, and I was like, holy crap, I've met these people. There are some people who are true believers, where they're deep in the sauce. There's some people who go along with it. Like, there's a guy in 1984 who is, he's a fan of Big Brother. He's like a bro. He's got a family and kids. And he loves the whole communist system. He loves everything. He gets killed too. They all get killed by the system because it's a shitty system. It's terrible. It's terrible. I'm not saying today's system's amazing, but nobody wants to live in the communist system. Nobody wants to live where wokeness is taking us. Nobody. Nobody wants to live there. Not a single human being wants to live there. None of us do. It's an anti-human society. They don't care about evolutionary psychology. They think men are moldable. They think humans are moldable, right? The moldable man. Men are just clay that can be turned into anything. So of course, like the communist man, if everybody was really the communist man, communism would work. Nobody is the communist man. Nobody. So I don't know if I've said anything that has changed anybody's minds here. This is me talking, right? I'm just talking. Just talking. Your enemy is not me. I'm not unreasonable, I don't think. And again, if you think I'm unreasonable, go find the spot where I'm unreasonable. Please, find the spot where I said something evil, or racist, or sexist, or homophobic. I mean, I literally made a video titled Defending Homophobia, Defending Racism, I said Dismantling Feminism. Actually listen to what I said in those videos, and you'll find no evil there. You won't. I don't think you'll find anything evil. Nothing Nothing evil, I don't think. I mean, of course I would say that. I'm a white guy, right? I'm gonna take my coffee for a walk. Coffee. Where's Dusty at? He was around here somewhere. It's real early in the morning right now. About 8 a.m. That's really not that early, but... Oh, spilled my coffee. Actually, I think I'm just gonna end this video. I'm gonna title this... How to Convince a TERF that she's a Marxist. So I'll title it that. Happy New Year. It's January 1st. See you later. Bye.